What's up? How's it going? Man. Ow, freaking just pinched my finger. I can't believe we're here. I can't believe we are already here at World Cup. That is pretty exciting. I actually still need to buy my ticket. Which I'm embarrassed to say because I've known that I'm going to World Cup for a very long time, but have yet to do that. So, Brandon, good Wednesday. What's up? Nick, how's it going? Hey, Israel, how are you? Stoked for this one. I am as well. Yeah, hey, whoever's going to Cup, type 1 in the chat. I'm curious to know how many of you are actually going. This layout's going to be insane. I've literally not actually started this layout long enough to even understand it. All right. Well, let's not waste any time and let's take a look at this. There's a couple things at the top of this that I would like to mention, which is one, if you're watching the stream live right now, please click the like button. It helps the channel out a lot. It helps the stream out a lot. So please do that. Also, as a reminder, if you guys know or remember, I do layout breakouts. Wow, I don't know why I had such a hard time saying that. I do breakouts for NXL layouts. And previously, those layouts were accessible to anybody that was on the Discord server. But for World Cup and moving forward into the 2023 season, the breakouts are only going to be available to members of the YouTube channel, or if you're a Twitch subscriber on my Twitch channel. But I think I'm actually going to be doing away with that. I think I'm probably going to be streaming games over on YouTube on my gaming channel, but that's neither here nor there. So those breakouts, it doesn't matter what level of member you are, whether you're just the supporter or you're a super valuable player, but those breakouts are going to be available to those who are members of the YouTube channel. And when you become a member of the YouTube channel, you just need to make sure that you are also in the Discord server and that you have your YouTube account linked to Discord. And if you do that, you'll get access to a private channel on Discord, which is where I'll post those breakouts. If that's not enough, if this video is not enough and those breakouts are not enough and you want more individual coaching, you're welcome to reach out to me on my Discord server or in my DMs and request private coaching. I offer that for a reasonable price. Admittedly, I have to wait to announce what the price for that will be given the demand. If there's not very many people interested in it, then my time is not super strapped. But if there's a lot of people who are interested in doing that, I will have to adjust the rates accordingly. That's just to protect my time. But I think that's it. So I'm excited for this. I'm super curious to see how this layout will play out. Like I said, I have not even looked at the picture of this layout. This is the very first time I'm looking at this right now. So, nice. Okay. So we got a few people going to World Cup. That's awesome. Can we go over the mounds layout as well? I don't think they have the mounds layout on Guns Up. All right. So as you guys know, the very first thing we always do is we look at zones, because that helps us understand where we will likely find each player in a standard breakout. Oh man, these zones are going to be kind of tricky. I'll start with the snake side first. These are also subject to change based on the only people I think in the country that are going to have that will have played this layout today are going to be those out of Blast Camp. There might be a few other people, maybe like back east or something, but so I'm drawing these zones with the understanding that it's very likely that this will change, given kind of where people are playing on an average. So my issue, I'm not sure, is where to draw the line for the Doritos. Because the question is the Dorito one going to go to this mini Dorito and then work their way up? Or are they going to try to go out wide? And I don't love drawing like very single lane zones. I don't think that's very valuable, but I think this will probably work. All right. For those of you who are curious, if you want to use basic zone calls, we would call the outermost Dorito Zone Dragon. And we would call the outermost Snake Zone Charger. Otherwise, if you want to use the advanced ones, we would call this Iowa, Nevada, Texas, Oklahoma, and Arizona. Some of you guys have had questions about the zones, or there's been some misunderstandings about the zones, and I probably need to revisit that in a different video, just because the zones only work outward in. So just really quickly, you can't call Nevada if there's somebody still in Iowa. Iowa has to be cleared for you to then call Nevada. And the purpose for that is to say, when you announce a zone, it is to say that there is nobody in that zone. You are clear for takeoff, right? That's the entire purpose of the zone call. And it's to increase your paintball IQ and awareness, and also the speed in which you react to things. So if, for example, you kill some guy in the Doritos over here and the number 2 is behind him and you shout Iowa, that's supposed to tell your front guy, if he's still alive, that he can wrap on the inside guy and put paint wherever he needs to on him and immediately move. Obviously, protecting himself against the middle. But that's the entire purpose of the zones. So you can't like have a guy in the snake still and kill this dude and say Nevada, because there's no value in that, right? The purpose of calling those zones is so you can rapidly respond to it and move up the field, more importantly. So anyway, now that we have the zones figured out, we're going to look at the backline and see what sort of routes we can take to our bunkers and where the gaps are that we can either shoot or that we need to be worried about. So the first thing is you have a little bit of a blind drop shot, though I really don't think you're going to get a lot of people unless they're trying to run up the middle in some kind of crazy route. But you have obviously these 2 valleys that you can shoot over the top. And I would say that you have relative protection to be over the top in this bunker. So for those of you who are tall back center players, you're gonna have a great time, because this should protect you. Excuse me. And it looks like you do have a little bit of a window over into the snake side. And at least at first glance, you don't really have anything except anybody trying to take an aggressive bite into the Dorito. We'll call it Dorito 2. Yeah. So unless somebody's trying to go here in one of these 2 bunkers or out here, you're not going to really be able to shoot anybody that's going to pull up shorter than that. You're not going to really be able to shoot anybody going there, it looks like. Okay. Interesting. Let's go to the snake side then. So if we bump out to the snake corner, actually, what does like a dead zone look like? So you do have a shot right here to anybody going into the snake or into the corner. Obviously, you'd have to worry about some kind of drop shots from the back center. So, but you have a lot of room to play here. In fact, you have a ton of freedom to play in this little box to shoot this shot if you wanted to. I don't even, and the only reason you would do that is to like guarantee the kill on the snake guy by not having to move very much. Otherwise, if you even just move out a little bit, right? Like you could take this wide route, use the wedge to blind the back center, that tall standing wedge, and then run up. And as you do so, shoot towards the god in the corner and the snake. Just dump your paint all in this little zone right here. I would suspect that there's going to be a lot of people going to that wedge on the snake side. I would suspect that's a pretty common bunker. And then if we go out farther to the juice box, you have a pretty standard open gap, which will be progressively harder to get out of the longer the game goes. But at least you could even get to this bunker as the number 1 or 2 for that matter and shoot anybody running to the corner. And you even possibly have, I'm not sure how the gaps are going to be at the actual event or at your local field. That is always subject to change. But you even have a little bit of a gap right here. I'm not sure how solid that's going to be to shoot anybody diving. But you could potentially, depending on how late somebody dives, you might be able to shoot them in the face right here. So if you imagine you're the snake player and you're getting shot at by that juice box, if you're not diving already by the time you get to the god, you might actually get shot in the face doing this. So there might be something there. Not the most positive shots so far from that bunker, but when we go out to the corner now, really the gap that we're worried about most is the over the top right here, right? For this guy, he has quite a bit to work with in terms of shooting us. So if we were to draw this out, this is kind of the zone that he has to kill us in. And that's over the top. That's a pretty positive or pretty easy shot to make. if you're able to stand up over the top of the Aztec. Even if you're not, a lot of times for the short guys, all you have to do is actually get further away from the bunker and then stand on your tippy toes. So even if I'm not a very tall guy, I'm like 5'7.5", like 5'8". So I could even shoot this gap right here, this is what it would look like. You might not want to shoot over that pin. Is that a pin? Yeah. You might not want to shoot over that pin and focus more of your attention on like this right here. But that is definitely possible if you get further away from the bunker. So that's something to worry about. But I mean, the nice thing is, like in most layouts, the difference as a front player, the difference between going here along the baseline versus here into the snake or into the god directly is enough of a difference that, you know, if you're struggling to get into the snake off break and surviving it, then running the baseline into the corner should be a safer route because it's far enough away from each other. And then getting into the corner, it is a true tape, but a really crappy true tape, because in order for it to be a true safe tape, you have to get really low. So this would be kind of like essentially the same position you would get in if you were playing the snake. If you were going to snap shoot from the snake beams, this would be the same sort of position you would find yourself in if you wanted to keep yourself safe. Because if you try to hold the snake from this angle, not only is this a really bad angle to hold from, because your ability to get shot on the inside of your loader is pretty high. Even if you turn your loader in, like sometimes you can get clipped in the top corner of your mask, on the top of your head. There's just random balls that can just like drop in on you, and you can't even really see the tape if you do this. So this isn't great to hold the tape from, but down here is. And obviously coming up over the top is like super, super dangerous. But there is some value in that because of the information you can get. Huge gaps you can see. Huge gaps from the home even. So if you get Tiger 2 out of the snake side and you're in the corner, you're pretty safe to just come up right here. Because, I mean, unless they're like super deep in the Dorito, you're pretty safe to just kind of scan all of this information and use the middle to blind out a lot of the field and just process like, where are they? Are they here? Are they here? Are they here? Or where's that home guy going to try to go to like plug the hole? So good to know so far. Let's look at the Dorito side, and then we'll catch up with chat here in a minute. So same. Oh, I guess I didn't pay attention to the crossfield shots. So I imagine that you're gonna find a lot of blind crossfield shooting over from the snake side over to the Doritos, and using the tower as a point of reference. So, you know, some of you guys, if you don't have a ton of experience shooting blind shots accurately, the easiest way to increase your accuracy is use some kind of point of reference. That might be a logo on a bunker. That might be that you say to yourself, I'm going to try to shoot this corner right here, but up above the bunker. And by doing so, my paint's going to curve. So as I run out this way, my paint's going to go like this, which it does. I mean, that's an extreme curve, but you do need to shoot in front of your target as you're running that direction for it to curve that way. And so if you pick a certain point on the bunker, that's an option, or you can always, which in this case, if you shot right here but upwards, you are probably going to get your paint in this sort of window, hopefully. But that changes obviously as you run out. So for you number twos, I would highly recommend you practice that on the snake side. That would be a big kill if you can get the number two to either feel threatened as they come out to this spot, or even kill them. That's awesome. That's going to improve, especially like higher division. I don't even need to say that. Higher division guys are going to be doing that all the time. But if you lower division guys can hit that shot consistently, or at least, 60% of the time, in your division 5, 4, or 3 even, that's going to be really scary for the teams that you play against. They're going to like start to panic. And what's going to happen is they're going to have to drop their gun. They're either going to have to match the aggression by putting pressure on you as they run out, or they're going to have to just dive into this bunker, which puts a gun down, which means that they're only going to maybe get 3 guns up, if not only 2 guns up off the break. And in this case, you'd have 2 guns down on the Dorito side if you're able to do that, which is huge. That just means like, how can we punish those guys? We'll just 2 guns up on the Dorito side or whatever. Or we just push hard on the snake. Anyway, so good to know. So that crossfield shot is definitely there. The other one that I'm looking at that's kind of interesting is you can actually step out right here and use this juice box as a blind and shoot anybody trying to run deep into this Dorito. And in which case, that's going to be the Dorito. It's kind of I don't know what you'd call this. My inclination is to do Dorito 1, but this is probably baby for a lot of teams. And then this is Dorito 1, 2, and 3. Dorito 2 and Dorito 3. That's probably what it's going to be. I would call this delta. If you want to know what my calls are, I would call this delta, the corner. And if you want to use my super dumb calls, these are 1, 2, and 3. These aren't my calls really, and then this is Cobra over here in the corner, and this is God. So otherwise you can do Denver, you can do Denver here. I don't love Denver for this backline bunker. And then some people do this as Seattle or Cali. Seattle makes sense to me, but we use Seattle as like a center bunker call on the snake side. So, okay, good to know. So there is a blind you can play off from this bunker and shoot to, if they're taking deep routes into the Dorito, that's an option. And then to look at that same crossfield shot, so you do have a point of reference as well. You kind of have to be a bit taller to see it, but you do have essentially a similar point of reference. And it would probably be a similar thing where you're aiming at the top right of the logo and shooting up high. Now, this is the NXL logo. You might not have that on your field. It might be, the Empire logo or the Lux logo, which is going to be a bit harder to find that point of reference. But otherwise, I don't think you have any threat here in this gap. Running out to this Dorito tower from this, but again, I think your crossfield shot's going to be pretty scary. I guess if you have a guy who stops, that's actually not true. If you have somebody who stops here off the break as the number 2 and shoots this gap, you could get hit. It's just their first ball has to be on. Your first 1 to 2 balls, actually, I would even argue your first ball has to be on in order for you to even kill this guy by making that move. The other alternative is to just shoot for his runner by shooting this gap right here. So ignoring this guy. You do run the risk of getting shot yourself, but the nice thing is if you notice that the number 2 is shooting at you as you're shooting for their runner, you can just duck right below this wing, this W, and then you can bump out to this tower and kind of match them. So that seems to be a pretty solid thing. The challenge is going to be that if you start getting 3 people, so for example, if you start getting like the number 3 here, the number 2's here, and maybe even the number 2's right here. Now, the number 2 breaking out to this far is not so bad, but you just want to be very careful at getting jammed up too much in the back. That's all. This home guy can kind of shoot wherever. All the shots aren't great, but I'd probably say that the shots look better on the snake side. At least you can shoot for the snake runner. You can't really shoot for the Dorito runner if they pull up short. Like if they pull up anywhere in this baby or closer to the start box, the home guy's shots aren't going to do anything. And then this number 2 guy can also try to bingo the number 2 on the Doritos. So it looks like, I mean, if the number 2 on the snake side decides to shoot heads up, then that's where you find your bingo on the snake side, it looks like. So if you're trying to bingo the Dorito runner, if you're trying to kill the Dorito runner guy, your option looks to be for your number 2 to shoot. I mean, again, you're only really going to kill them if they're going to this Dorito right here, or if they go right here, because you're not going to see the corner in that case. And then this guy also shoots for it. Can he shoot the runner? He can. We established that. I think the angle's right here. So you could get a bingo situation going on in the Dorito runner in that case, and then your home guy's got a pretty solid shot to shoot the snake. If you wanted to shoot the snake, it looks like the number 3 is going to shoot this way still, and then instead this guy's going to either pull up here from this gap, or really he's got a lot of room to work with between here and here. You can stop right here and shoot that shot. You've got a lot of opportunity, but it looks like the Holmes shot is better on the snake side than it is on the Dorito, at least initially. I mean, you do have a shot on the runner. I should say you do have a shot on the Dorito runner. It is there for sure. Is it better? They're kind of both bad, to be honest. They're kind of both equal, because look at this gap. This is teeny. This is small. This is okay-ish, but you're probably going to shoot the number 2 that way. You could shoot the 1. You could shoot the 1. So maybe I shouldn't take such a strong stance on it yet. I don't know. It looks like the number 3 actually has pretty solid options in either case. Sorry, let me finish the backline here really quick, and then we'll take a little bit of a break. So The Dorito side tower has a pretty similar gap in terms of like once you get, this is a really strong bunker to hold the zones. So if you get a tiger off the Dorito side and they mirrored you in this tower, you've got a really strong ability to hold every single bunker out of here. So I would argue that if they're Dorito runners struggling to live, they're probably going to pull up shorter and go to this little mini Dorito. But otherwise, if you're killing their Dorito runner and you're still losing because of the Dorito side push, it means that you're not holding this gap well enough, which shouldn't be a problem. Even if you have to get low or look in the inside, well, that's a lot of times a way in which you. So like if I decide if I'm gun battling with the guy in front of me who's in the Dorito tower on the opposite side of the field right here, and I've got a Dorito guy that's kind of making his way. Excuse me, that's supposed to be a 1. If I've got a Dorito guy making his way up the field and their number 2 is here and we tigered their number 1 over here and I get put in, I'm probably safe to just immediately do this inside gap hold. Just start dumping paint right here. Because who's going to shoot me? I guess if they're in the 50 snake-ish. Yeah, if they're in the snake 3, that's a problem. But this is assuming it's in the early game, right? Usually I make these types of calls in the early game. So in the first minute or first second to 45 seconds, you maybe not 45, probably 30 seconds of the game, if you want to close the point out quickly, that's a move you can make pretty safely. Going out then to the corner, you definitely have huge gaps from the home guy. So the home guy's ability to, so I had said originally that didn't look very strong. So why do I feel differently now? If I go here, okay, so this gap is actually pretty solid. This Dorito side gap from the home player is actually really solid. Way more open from the Doritos perspective than I thought originally. It's all those red bunkers, man. It's hard to like separate them. So the home guy has a lot of great shots, even on going into the corner. But again, the distance between somebody running this route versus this baseline in is significant enough that choosing one over the other and going around their paint is safe. But it does look that if you are struggling, you can take this center route into here, and your biggest concern is this gap. This gap is what's going to suck. So if you do take that inside route to get to here and survive, or to take a different route, so wow, yeah, you actually have 3 different routes you can take to get into the Doritos. You can either go here, you can go here, or you can go here. You could alternatively go here if you wanted. So there's really 4 routes you can take to get to the outside of the field on the Dorito. So that means that as the number 3, if we're going to shoot on the Dorito side of the field, what we really need to practice is we need to practice shooting our first 3 balls. Maybe 5, but probably not. Our first 1 to 3 balls, upwards of 5, need to be really accurate in this gap, and then immediately switch out and shoot for this gap and essentially act as a safety net, right? Obviously, if we don't kill them getting into this little Dorito in this gap, it is what it is, but we just want to make sure that they can't take the second bite really quickly right after, which means that we need to dump the rest of our paint right here. You could probably do the same thing for the snake, where you shoot your first 1 to 3, upwards of 5 maybe, depending on how slow they are, into this gap, and then immediately turn outward and shoot for the gap into that snake mini W. But really quick, before we take this quick break, we're going to look at the corner. It's not a true tape, really. It's kind of, but it's kind of a janky one. You do have blind shot threat that you need to worry about. But generally speaking, when that's the case, you can get on your knees and protect yourself that way. The challenge is that the farther back on the Dorito side they are, it's going to be harder for you to see them moving up. If you get low, if you get higher, you can kind of see it. So you notice how I can see the corner of this Dorito right here when I stand up, but when I go lower, I lose vision of that depending on how low I go because of this Dorito in front of me is blinding it. So just be aware of that like if you're trying to protect yourself from your mirror, definitely drop. You might even be able to get away from your bunker a little bit and see that because you've got like this nice little window that you make for yourself, which is pretty good, and the paint's going to be going above you at this point. So the only concern you're going to have is that a lot of times people will shoot the corner of this. Like if they shoot right here, that paint's going to fall on you. and that could easily break on your loader, especially as you get further out. But that is definitely a thing people will do to hold the Dorito tape. So if you're not sure what's going on, or you think the Dorito corner, if you know there's somebody in the corner and you think they might be trying to get a little cheeky, definitely drop your paint in the corner, the top corner of that bunker. Okay. Take a little quick break before we go into, we'll look at the snake side first. Hey, if you guys are watching the stream right now live, 35 of you, please hit the like button. We've only got 17 likes in the video. It does help promote the video quite a bit, and I do appreciate that a lot. Justin fired up. Let's go. I'll be playing a cup D5 3-man. Let's go. Nice job. Y'all smash that like button for your homie. Thanks, Daniel. We have the layout up at my park, and they say you got to be fast to make a lot of these moves. I would imagine, yeah. To make of a too much of a delay for me, I'll have to rewatch later. Oh, that's too bad. I'm sorry. Wishing everyone safe travels on their way to Cup. Thank you, Randy. Playing 7-man mech and 10-man electronic. Nice. That's gonna be sweet, dude. One of these days, one of these years, I'll do that at a World Cup. But some of you have asked me what my plans are for World Cup, so I am going, and I, as of right now at least, I think I can say this. I don't think there's going to be problems. I am coaching Matt the Gym Rat's team, or assistant coaching. I shouldn't say coaching. I'm assisting Matt the Gym Rat's team at World Cup, their D3 Carolina Crisis Squad. As far as what I'll do specifically, I have ideas. I think Matt has ideas as well, but I think I'm just going to support them in whatever way they want me to. So probably be doing a lot of scouting, a lot of breakout adjustments, mid-tournament, mid-series, breakout recommendations, counters, kind of stuff like that. So I'm going to be doing that, as well as I supposedly have a pro pass. So I'll be in the pro pits, hopefully a fair bit, talking to pros and getting some. I'm not sure what I'm going to do for content I mean, like, I know there's a lot of people who have enjoyed my interviews with pro players. It's just hard to do that at an event itself, because obviously if they're in the pit section, they're kind of getting ready. So they're mentally needing to focus on that. And anything outside of the pro pits, they're kind of relaxing, which is, a fine time to ask them questions. But I'm also not nearly as known as Matt the Gym Rat is. So when he comes and asks pro players questions, they kind of know that it's already for content, but I don't have that same notoriety. So, but I don't want to just like do the same thing. I don't want to just ask questions related to paintball necessarily, but that might end up being what I do. I just got to think of, I got to be creative. So if you guys have ideas, or even if you have questions you would like to know from pro players, you're welcome to drop them in the chat on Discord. So just getting back into the sport, do you have a glossary for your and maybe general paintball lingo, e.g. pocket play, cobra, guns up, etc.? See you in the pro pits. Nice, Eric. I'll see you in the pro pits, buddy. Dan, that's a great question. I don't, but I should do that. I mean, the examples you gave, pocket play is essentially a style of play in which you take backline conservative bunkers and you shoot as much paint into zones that prevents your opponents from moving up the field for as long as possible until you either kill somebody or the time runs out or whatever the case is. Pocket play is essentially like a defensive play in paintball, if you can imagine it that way. Cobra is just the name of the snake side corner bunker, but that's not universal. That's just what a lot of teams call it. And then Guns Up is just the app that I'm using. But that question does make me think I need to get one. So, all right, let's look at the snake side then. Don't forget to drink your water, boys and ladies. I don't think any women watch me, but I know there are a few that play. So, all right, let's look at the snake side then. Let's revisit this route. So, I guess my verdict is getting alive into either the Dorito side or the snake side seems to be pretty standard in terms of your survivability, which, depending on how fast you are, how good your opponent is, fluctuates anywhere between 40 and 60%. So if your opponents are equally skilled at shooting you as you are fast, you're probably sitting at a 50% survival rate. And obviously, any sort of difference in those skills or speed metrics are going to increase your survivability or decrease it. So if you're slow and they're really good at hitting your shots, your ability to make it into the snake off the break is going to be pretty low. All right, so then when we get to the god and we want to get into the snake, let's see what that looks like. So we obviously have our pretty standard heads up fight, and we have a pretty typical wrap and go, right? So we shoot at the guy here, and then we wrap around our bunker and shoot at this guy here. And if we can get both those people to flinch, we probably can take our bite into the snake, seeing as the home guy is going to be, I mean, he could shoot at us. He could shoot at us and threaten our positioning. So if you see, for example, if you are fighting heads up and you win the dominance in front of you, so you get this guy to go in and you're putting pressure on this dude now, and you see paint streaming in right here, you just got to know there's 3 people looking my way. Sometimes people have calls for that. We just shout 3 our way or 3 my way. But I realize that can be kind of confusing. So sometimes we'll say the home is turtle, or they will say, like, in this case, the 2 is turtle, which just means the 2 is crossfield on me all day. In the case where it's like the home bunker, it doesn't really mean that they're cross field. It just means that they're on my side. Turtle is the call that we use for that. Turtle in a more traditional sense would be like some guy in the corner, for example. This dude in the Dorito side would be like dumping all of his pods in the cross field shot. In that case, we would try to figure out where that paint's coming from, and then we would shout, "Hey, the Delta's turtle," or the Dorito corner is holding his crossfield shot all day on me. I can't go anywhere. And that's supposed to trigger the Dorito side to say, hey, they have one less gun looking our way. Their Dorito corner guy's looking inside. We need to bully the guy in front of us to then move up, because you essentially make it a 2-on-1. Okay, so it looks to be that your biggest concern is going to be obviously that home guy if he's just dumping paint, but this guy right here as well is going to be a problem if you're not careful. And of course, anybody who makes it up the middle really early. Generally speaking, if you don't get stuck in the god and instead you get here and fight for advantage or for position, or excuse me, for pressure right away, you generally can take this bite as soon as you win that 1v2 without checking off these middle guys, if you're not seeing paint your way. And that has to be within the first 20 seconds of the point, if not earlier. It needs to be the second move you make as soon as you get to your bunker. If you take 20, 25, 30 plus seconds to make the move out of this god into the wing in front of you in the snake, then you are no longer safe to do that right away. You need to know, where's the middle guy? Is he looking my way? Is he looking their way? And you can gain a lot of information by just winning the heads up fight if you beat these 2 guys, and then standing up over the top of your bunker and checking these 2 bunkers off. Checking off the wing, checking off the middle. If you do both of those, then you're good to dive. And it has to be really fast. So as soon as you do that, you get into the snake. We always want to see, anytime we make a move, if we're rewarded with any free kills, right? As Rusty Glaze and Victor Gamboa say, Tyler Harmon as well, what you're looking for is necks, packs, and backs. That's, as a front player, that's what you're trying to shoot, is necks, packs, and backs. So do we have any necks, packs, and backs as soon as we take this first snake? You have a little bit of pressure on the Dorito corner. I don't think you're going to see that guy if they play tight, but depending on the division you play, you might actually get a kill here on a pod pack. But I wouldn't dedicate more than 10 balls on this. Even if you see just a little glimpse of them, it can be tempting to sit there and wait till that paint drops in on their pod pack, but it also might just be worth it to move up the snake and get a better kill, quicker. So we also want to look at who stops us from moving up the snake, and in this case from the snake W to, we'll call this the snake 2. Yeah, it'd probably be safer to call this snake 2. Or so snake 1, snake 2, snake 3, and anywhere in this middle we would call Viper. So that can be a little confusing, but that's probably what we would say. And Viper would include anywhere in between these 2 cakes, as well as if you're playing this cake itself. When you pass that, we usually call it Scorpion, I believe, or I think it's Alamo, actually. Yeah, I'm pretty sure the snake side on our side is Alamo, but you can also call it Scorpion if you want. Scorpion's usually a middle. For example, if we called this Seattle, if this was Seattle, this would be Scorpion. That's usually how we do it, just if you guys are curious. So if we get to the snake 1 then, or snake 2, excuse me, Do we have any free kills? We do not yet. We have some decent pressure on the Dorito 1, we'll call it. But now we start to enter in threatening territory from the middle. So if you know where the middle guy is and he is not in the 50, which in this case we would call this bunker the Omega. We would call this Omega. If he's not in the Omega, and in some cases we would actually call this... wow. Yeah, we would call this Houston. And we would call this Dallas. And then we would call anywhere in the middle Omega. And the reason we would do that is because if we hear Houston, and that means he's on the snake side of the 50, and that means he's staring at me. So that means I can't really take this snapshot towards the Dorito guy without just getting blasted. But if I'm in here and I hear he's in Dallas, well, now I can come up and I can hold that Dorito gap, and I can even possibly bait out the middle guy. Because if you guys, for those of you who don't play the middle, it actually is it is surprisingly difficult to play the middle and make sure that you have the correct alignment to where it is you want to snap from, especially the wider you get. So for example, it's not very hard to like snap anybody down range from you if you're staring at their start box, right? From here, I can pretty well assume where the start box is. I can plant my foot where it needs to be, and I can break, I can snap and shoot at the home guy pretty safely. But if I'm going back and forth over here to the Doritos and I come back to the snake, you sometimes take a step too far and realize, oh shoot, he's shooting my leg now because I stepped out too far, right? And that's something that snake guys can capitalize on. If when you come to here and you hear Dallas, you come up over the top, you hold this gap, maybe you shoot 10 balls here and then you stop and you wait, you might find that this guy's foot plants right here and you can just blast him, right? It's something to consider. You do have a little bit of a cheeky shot towards the the Delta, which is the Dorito side corner. You do have a little bit of a cheeky shot, but it looks like you're opening yourself up to being bullied or even killed from the home guy. But that also means you can threaten the home guy from here. Now, the question we always have to ask ourselves is it worth it to take the shot, right? Because we don't want to essentially get ourselves in a gunfight scenario, especially as a snake, if we have the ability to move up the field and essentially guarantee the kill. So is there a reason for us to challenge the home guy from this position? Not really. I mean, you might be able to kill the home guy, but you really risk your livelihood by doing this. And what do you gain or lose by doing that? You might kill a back center guy, but they have 4 people alive on the field, but you'll lose your front snake guy if you make this play. So maybe just ignore the home guy, make sure that he can't shoot your loader as you take these angles, and otherwise be focused on trying to move up the snake. So obviously this is a true tape. You have to win this gunfight in order to move. But if you do, you can freely move. Also, if you kill their snake guy and they haven't filled, you're clear for takeoff, it looks like. So the first move, if you go low enough, you might be safe, but you do need to worry about this wedge guy. So if the wedge guy is standing right here, anywhere in the top of the wedge or in this high angle of the wedge, they very likely can shoot you in your pack. So that's something to be worried about. Always you can, for example, I mean, even here, you have to kind of worry about that shot, right? If I were to look on the inside of the field and this guy's standing tall, that's something you do need to worry about. So it's always possible for you to win the heads up fight. And as soon as you win that, take a step very quickly and either just head check it, which is probably the safest thing to do, or actually commit to the shot. Right, where you step up, you shoot at that, and then you dive right away into here, into this snake 3. But otherwise, that wedge guy is going to mess up your day, which is another reason why I think that wedge is going to be played quite a bit. Do you get any free kills from here? Definitely not. Again, assuming even if we were to assume that they were not in this bunker or this wedge, is there any reason for me to shoot this guy, this juice box guy? Not really. There's not really any reason for me to do that. You have, again, assuming that let's imagine the home guy is still there. You can blind the home guy and you can pressure a tower. You can pressure the tower guy on the Dorito side. It's not a free kill, so you're not rewarded with this move with anything, but you do have that shot. But again, your biggest concern is you need to know if there's a guy in this bunker. So otherwise you can't really afford to come up over the top, it looks like. If you win this, so for example, if for whatever reason you need to do this, but you beat the guy in front of you in the wedge, holding this position against them is pretty strong. The biggest issue you're going to run into is that if they decide to take the inside route up to the 50, you're not going to be able to react to that because this is your window. You're going to see them make that move before you'll react to it unless you decide to dump paint in this little gap first. So if, for example, you come up over the top, somehow they don't kill you, and you win this fight, I would dump paint here and here, and even down here, I would just shoot a bunch of paint for a second, and then I would turn and immediately shoot this gap just to protect myself, and then keep going. Again, I'm not suggesting you do that. That's just if you are going to. Win the fight again, and now we start to get into interesting territory. So this low wrap at essentially the Viper, right? We're calling this little gap Viper. At essentially the Viper is when you have your first real threat against somebody. So this is a pretty strong surprise angle. You will put them behind you essentially cause them to either put their gun up and be in like a very low kneel kind of survival position where they're just like hugging the bunker, or you will force them to play behind their gun on the Dorito side that way. If you take this shot and you earn that and you win the dominance, this is really strong. You can then wrap and bully the home guy if he's still there, and this isn't a free kill, but this is a very strong possibility of killing them. This is another situation in which this guy's going to be feeling really pinched if you do this. So this getting to this Viper, even really we'll call it the Snake 3, before you even get into that Viper gap is really strong. Wrapping even further, I would say this is your first free kill. So which is nice because all this is a simple wrap, right? You're essentially wrapping, checking this guy off, wrapping, checking this guy off, wrapping, checking this guy off. Again, assuming you can do so because this is free, or you're not being pressured in any sort of way. You have a free kill on the Dorito 1. Not free, I guess I should say, but you're very likely to get a free kill here. So if you snake guys want to have something to practice, it would be, I would set up a gauntlet drill for you, which would be that their first target you shoot at is that Dorito. You could even put it in the middle if you wanted to. So for example, a gauntlet drill looks like this. You have some kind of starting position. It very well might be here. You run and dive into the snake, and then you come to your first position. Your first position, we'll say, is going to be this crossfield Dorito shot. Wait, why can't I see it? Oh, it's here. What? Hold on. I'm losing my mind. Okay, it is that. All right. So this gauntlet drill starts here. You dive in. You don't even have to do that. You can start at the God if you want. Your first position shot is going to be at a target set here. You're going to then immediately take this by, and your second position shot is going to be here. You want to make sure that snapshot is super solid if you need it, and then you're going to wrap on your third position, and it's going to be either the target. You just set up one, but it's going to be a target here, or target there. And that's like a really good 3-stage gauntlet drill is what that's called. And you run that over and over and over again so that when you get to the tournament, these shots, when you get here, you're super solid in those shots. You know exactly where they are. You don't have to think about it. You just know as soon as I come up, I know where my paint's going. That's how you make yourself a very, very strong weapon against any team. But if you get here, you're not really going to be stopped getting into their snake except for this guy right here. This guy is the only one that can shoot your pack for sure. So you need to check him off. Like, so for example, if you know that there's a home guy and there's this juice box guy and they're both shooting at you, if you can at least beat the guy in front of you, beat this juice box guy, you can go underneath the home guy's paint so that you can just ignore the home guy. And then once you get here, now they're in huge trouble. You get here and you've got a kill here. You've got a kill here. You've got a very strong possibility of a kill there. You'll kill any can guy, very likely, that's there. You'll still kill this dude for sure. You have a very strong chance of lobbing in a drop shot, killing this corner guy. So, I mean, as soon as you get here, you've got, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And if they're playing this tower, for sure they're dead, right? But we're not going to really count that. So you have like 5 potential kills, and then obviously, you don't even have to wrap on the home guy on the inside. You can just be here and make him super uncomfortable. And as long as you stay alive, you just got to pinch this dude out. And as soon as you do, you're home free. You as soon as you kill that juice box guy, assuming he's the only one stopping you, you just crawl all the way to their snake and then kill the home guy from this position. You don't even bother shooting at him until then. So now you've got that's free. This is free. Wrapping farther. This is free. This is free. This is free. There's so many kills. So It looks like, in my opinion, so usually what I assess on each side of the field is what's the bunker we're trying to get to as fast as possible, because it'll give us the most, it'll reward us the most for doing so. And obviously, if you can get to their side of the snake, that'll reward you the most, but it's also the riskiest and most difficult thing to do. But I think a reasonable bump to make is literally you have one bump. So this is, if you can get to the snake, getting from here to here is free. And now you have one fight you have to get past for you to get to the snake 3. And now you're in position to do damage, right? It may not be that you can wrap right away, but as soon as you're in this bunker and the other team's shouting snake 3, this guy is in trouble, this guy's in trouble, and this guy's in trouble. Those 3 people are just, they're in trouble. They're not dead. They're just in huge trouble. Eric, let's go. Been waiting on this one. Thanks for the re-up on the membership for 6 months, man. I appreciate that. What does Snake 2 wrap shoot? I don't know if Snake 2 has a wrap shoot, it looks like. Because you can ignore the juice box guy. You don't have to shoot at him. You could shoot at the home if you wanted to. In my opinion, this is probably not even worth it. So your biggest issue is... You kind of have to, actually. Your biggest issue when you're wrapping on the snake 2 is to check off the wedge guy. That wedge guy is the one who's going to mess you up. So, and in order for you to do that, you have to see if the home guy's looking at you. So that might be that you have to wrap here and take a snapshot here very tight. Check off the home guy, shoot at him a bunch, and then maybe come up over the top and head check or wrap farther. One thing I talk about a lot, like if you guys are dying in the snake a lot or even in the Doritos, as you're trying to wrap on your bunker, it's possible because you're doing the like pie tactic from like actual military tactics or SWAT tactics, which does not work in paintball. So pieing, as you guys know, is like essentially chopping up every angle, every possible angle as you round the bunker. And the problem with this is as obvious that people can see your barrel as you start to come around the corner. And if this guy's sitting posted on you, all he's going to do is wait for you to round that corner and then shoot you in the face or in the loader. And so what you really need to do is you need to snap very, very precisely, very cleanly at the home, and then snap very precisely and very cleanly at this wedge. And those need to be your 2 snapshots. You do, at least on Guns Up, you do have an issue where the juice box guy can actually shoot you. So you might have to shoot this shot or just head check it at the very least, because that guy can actually shoot you. But the reason why I said you don't really need to worry about him is because he's not going to actually stop you from moving up the field if you just go low enough. It's this wedge guy that's going to cause you problems. It's going to cause you problems. So maybe the solution to this is actually looking on the inside of the field first. Because if, for example, I look on the inside and I know that there's not a guy in the middle, that there's nobody in this middle shot, I check off this guy already. This is the first guy I'm looking at when I get to this bunker. And then naturally I'm going to round off and look for this guy who might be standing up tall. And if I know he's in the wedge, I have to take this very slow. If I know, for example, that he's not in the wedge, so let's say, for example, just bear with me. If I hear the home, the snake corner, and snake 1, what does that mean? It means that there's nobody in this bunker. Okay, the home, back center, snake corner, and somewhere in the snake or god. That much is sure. Or even if I hear the home, let's call the juice box. Let's call this juice box. We'll call it the 3. Not that you guys would, but let's call it the 3 or Seattle. We'll just make it easy. We'll call this Seattle. So if I am in this position and I hear the home, Seattle, and snake 1, that means that they cannot be in this bunker because it just doesn't make sense otherwise, right? Like they've got 2 people somewhere on this side of the field, and we've now identified the home, the Seattle, and the, we'll say snake corner, or anywhere in the snake, right? Which means that they're not here. So what that means is I can shoot this crossfield shot at the Dorito for a second, but all I really need to do now is win my heads up battle. And as soon as I get that snake guy to flinch, I take this bite and I'm golden. I can make that move without even caring about if there's a wedge guy. Does that make sense? But if I hear, you know, the Seattle and the snake 1, and I don't know where the middle guy is, I can't make that move. I can't make that move freely, right? I have to know where that middle guy is first. Usually play Seattle. I used to name a bunker on the snake side since it starts with the letter S. You also hear Detroit, which is used usually for a Dorito side since it starts with the letter D. Correct. Yeah, we didn't really use Detroit very much. I don't think our calls were perfect by any means. It's just what we used for a long time. We got used to it, but I think there's definitely a lot of more optimizations for our bunker calls. Hey, made it for another stream. Think our local field is setting up this layout this weekend. The Omaha 50 looks fun. Hey, my man, using the 50 Omaha bunker on the Dorito side. Let's go. Okay, I think I'm used to the normal calls like Dorito Tower, God, etc. But what are the different state calls? I hear people calling like Seattle. Okay, so you answered that, Randy. Thank you. Yeah, the idea is that you want big bunkers usually are in the middle, and you want those big bunkers to stand out that are very different from any other call. So for example, we always just use the basic snake 1, snake 2, snake 3. We do not say S1, S2, S3. That does not carry well at all when you shout it. So, and in this case, like I said, we'd probably call this baby, or we would call it possibly like beast, but it would probably be that this is rocket. Rocket is a tall tower or some kind of like strong anchor bunker on the Dorito side. It's not usually in the backline, and we would either call this baby or beast. Beast is usually the bunker we would use if it wasn't a mini Dorito, but because it's a mini Dorito, we'll probably call it baby, but otherwise this is baby or beast. So the bunker you have, if you can couple bunker names together, it makes it easier to understand. Beast and Rocket are always next to each other. Baby and Closet are almost always next to each other, but Closet is a snake side call, so that's why it gets a little tricky here. So Closet is always a snake side call almost regardless. So for example, we would probably call this Closet. I know a lot of people would probably call this Turret, because it's a center-ish bunker. Actually, it is a center bunker. That is a tower of sorts. It's a can. And a lot of times people will call this turret, right? Again, we would probably, this is in the case that we're facing this way, right? We would call this Seattle, as I said, and we would call this Houston, just because it makes sense in my brain. It's possible for us to call this middle-ish bunkers on their side of the field could also be called China. But China is a much bigger bunker than this can. So usually the big, state, region, whatever calls, country calls are like big bunkers in the middle cluster of the field. And then, yeah, anyway, we don't need to go down that. I know you guys aren't here for that. So, all right, let's continue then. We've looked at the snake side. I think we're all good there. The snake corner is really kind of straightforward. This looks to be a pretty decent bunker to filter into the snake, by the way. If you decide to take the corner as a snake player, as a front snake, you do have some drop shots you have to be worried about from pretty much your standard bunkers. But as soon as you go, you can either go low. Like if you go really low, you can probably react to that paint coming your way by looking right here, like having your eyes set on this horizon. And if you don't see that paint coming, you can probably low crawl or like fast low crawl all the way up to this pretty easily. So if you're struggling to get into the snake as the front guy, consider going to the corner and making that move pretty quickly. Just be aware that they could possibly drop shots into you if you're too tall. So we use Dragon and Viper for the 50s on D side and snake side respectively. Our Rocket is the 30 in the center, typically the bunker before the center 50 Omaha. Oh, okay, so you call the center 50 Omaha. Interesting. What's snake side corner looking like? Hi Gary, yo, what's up, brother? What's up, guys? Okay, snake side corner, like I said, I think you have some potential here. It's just battling from this angle is really bad. But you do have some shots that you can put in at the God if they're high, or in the juice box on the snake side. You do have obviously a drop shot blind that you can shoot if you want, like this. And I guess the thing that's going to really ruin your day is that guy. If the number 2 on the snake side runs up to this wedge off the break, he's going to mess you up as you try to make this move. So if you try to low crawl too late, that guy's going to kill you right away. All right, let's look at the Dorito side, and then we'll look at the 50. So we already established that the number 2 on the Dorito side has a few options as far as how they want to get out to their bunker. They can take a pause here and either shoot for the number 2 in this little window. They can shoot for the Dorito runner if he pulls up short in this window, even this window, but I wouldn't shoot that. I would just shoot this one. And then they also have the option to even come out a little farther. It would be a little tricky, but you even could take a knee right here and shoot right here, this gap. So the number 2 on the Dorito side has a ton of options. Obviously, the number 1 on the snake side has the ability to take this inside route and dive into this little beast, or we'll call it baby. And and the biggest concern is going to be from the home guy shooting on the inside. You obviously have the number 2 who can shoot you as well. I'm not sure how common that's going to be, but that is definitely a possibility. We just looked at that. If he comes out to his bunker right away, I would probably suggest that you shoot this crossfield shot towards the number 2 on the snake side. And I imagine that's going to be a very common like blow for blow angle that people are going to take at each other. And then if we try to get into the Dorito 1 from here, it looks like the home guy is probably not an issue, so you don't have to worry about him. And otherwise, it seems to be a pretty standard wrap and go, meaning that as long as from the, if for whatever reason you doubled up the home or you pulled up short on the Dorito side and this is where you got stuck at and you need to get into the Doritos from here, all you really need to do is pressure wherever the Dorito guy is. If he's in the corner, it's probably even better because you can go really low. But if he's in the Dorito corner and you need to get to the Doritos, you can just get low, wrap, shoot at this guy, and then take your move. And in this case, that move could be either up this Dorito here, which you're super safe. You're super safe to do as soon as you put this guy in the Dorito side tower. You can take this bite, which sets you up pretty decently to get into that Dorito in front of you. The challenge is going to be that the pressure you're going to get from the snake, even on a low wrap right here, is going to be pretty bad. And so the survivability is kind of tough. And the only issue, I actually really like small Doritos. The biggest issue is that for most people, given how tall you are, you're usually on your knees, both knees in this position, and to get up from your knees and dive is kind of hard. So if you're fighting in this position and you need to get on your knees and low to survive, you just need to make sure that you either lift one leg up to get ready to go before you move, or just be very fast at coming from a double knee position and then making your move, right? So, otherwise, if you're in this Dorito, if they're anywhere past this zone, so for example, let's say you're fighting the guy in front of you and he's got his number 2 here. So here's the number 1, here's the number 2. If you're fighting this dude and he puts you in and then you come out and you see him dive, that's your cue to immediately challenge this guy. You need to challenge that guy right away, and you need to take this bite as soon as you can. Now, you can take that bite if you don't see any crossfield paint coming from the home. So if, for example, you're fighting this dude and you see paint just dumping in right here, you want to make sure this guy can't freely move to the Doritos. But if you're going to risk your life just to stop him because he's like either a better gunfighter or what, it's probably better for you to just let it go and say 3 my way and say Dorito's going to go, 3 my way, Dorito's going to go, 3 my way, Dorito's going to go, Dorito's going to go, whatever. And your number 2 needs to try and pick that up. And as long as the home guy's staying on you, you don't really need to move. So you just kind of chill until you stop seeing the paint, and then you rinse and repeat, right? So then that's pretty standard. Again, if you take longer than the first 20 seconds of the point, you now have the risk of this can, which I'm not sure how often is going to be played. We'll see. And then anybody obviously in the 50. So you could, depending on if people go up to the 50 right away, which I suspect that will be the case. You are probably safe-ish to make this move. But again, if it's anything past the first 20 seconds, you are not safe at all to make that move for free. And in many cases, you kind of need to see with your eyes if they're in the 50 or what. What do you think is the most important bunker to stop on this layout? I don't know. We'll see once we look at everything. I can kind of give you my input after the end of it. But again, let's look at the corner. So the question I always ask is, how well can the corner support the front player to move up the field? You obviously have an okay-ish tape to hold, which can at least slow down their push. You have definitely an angle you can shoot the Dorito, this Dorito guy in. So for example, I guess I should say getting low might not be sufficient, right? Even if I get low to wrap on the number 2, if they've established themselves in the corner and I just took too long, then if they get themselves in this tower and in the corner, this is a really bad bunker to be in because you're just going to get super stuck. But if they go anywhere in the actual Doritos, you're good. But if they go to that corner, you're kind of screwed. Because if I get to this Dorito, if I get to this corner, I can rain paint on that guy, and he'd have to get pretty low to get around it on that Dorito, that baby Dorito right here. If I wrap even farther, if I take a step back, I can actually see the tower probably. Again, your mileage may vary depending on the layout and the field you play on at Cup. but you can probably shoot paint. You can at least get each other to flinch, right? That's for sure. So you can, as you step out, or even just, you know, take one step out farther, you can definitely get this tower guy to flinch. If you wrap even farther, you can pressure anybody that went to this tower in the 40-ish Dorito side. You can put paint on anybody that's kind of standing up on over the top or on the side of that mini W. You can wrap farther and shoot anybody in the can, and you can even wrap and shoot somebody in the 50. So I would suspect that if you are stuck in this kind of positioning, and they've got a guy in the middle, your job is to go here and then pressure that guy. Can you do it on the inside? Let's find out. You cannot. So that's the only thing that kind of sucks. Sometimes it's really nice to make this corner route because you can actually put in the middle guy on the inside of the field. And the reason that that's nice is it's usually more accessible and it protects you from whatever's in front. But if in order for us to help our Dorito guy to kill the middle, we actually wait, what? YouTube is not receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming. Is anybody having any issues with the stream right now? Good old W play, my favorite. Dude, Ron, what's up, buddy? So otherwise, if we want to help our front guy putting in the middle, we have to wrap pretty far to get that done, which kind of sucks. So just keep that in mind. All right, let's look at this Dorito 1 here really quick. She blurry, just a touch. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. My internet's been really bad recently. I'm pretty upset with Xfinity, but Google decided not to zone my property or our property for Google Fiber, even though everybody around us has it. Feels bad, man. I've made like several calls to try and get that done. So yeah, sucks to suck, I guess. Wow, this Dorito 1 has a really strong wrap. I want to say wrap gap, but if I wrap here, assuming nobody's in the tape, I can do a lot of pressuring on that mini W, and I can even wrap farther to shoot this guy in the tower, assuming he was there. And I even have, I mean, this isn't necessarily me pressuring them, it's more them pressuring me, but I do have the ability to check off this middle. So I would suspect that what's going to kill Dorito players is that what's going to happen is they're going to take this bite right here, and then a lot of teams are going to be coming up the middle, and all they have to do is just watch this gap. And I think teams are going to get horny because when you get in this low position and you low wrap, you're going to be like, oh, there's nobody here. There's nobody here. I'm free for takeoff. And as soon as you do that, this guy's going to kill you. So if you can have enough restraint to at least when you get here, check this angle off right away and then make that move, you should be safe. But otherwise, I would probably just take it slow. And if you even take that inside route, so for example, if you get here, maybe you wrap to gain intel and then you come on the inside and shoot at this middle, if he's there, then you can actually take this inside bump super free. Like, look, who's going to shoot me? The juice box on the snake can't see me. There's probably not going to be anybody in this tower. There might be someone in this one. I'm not sure yet. Or excuse me, can. Again, in the breakout, if I took this Dorito off the break, I can probably make this inside route almost immediately, especially if I keep my eyes down range. So if I keep my eyes as a Dorito 1 downfield and I run and I'm looking up the middle, if I don't see anybody running up the middle from the home and I dive here, I can instantly take this bite right away. Because I already know what's in the middle, right? As soon as I take that bite, now I'm in a really great position to not only shoot this guy, but also shoot this guy. So I can shoot the home, I can shoot the guy in front of me, I can even shoot the Dorito 1 guy if I want to. So I can pull up short right here and instantly start pressuring these two. As soon as I get those guys suppressed, I just take this wrap, get this guy to flinch. Again, if they're in the home and they're in these two bunkers right here, it's probably that they're not in the middle, because that just doesn't, if that's the case, then they've abandoned their snake side, right? Because we would assume that there's two people somewhere in this side of the field. We've established that there's a guy in the middle and there's a guy here and here. It means there's nobody here. But it's always possible that the number 2 on the snake side decides to do, for whatever reason, go here and look the snake way and then island this guy. And now you've got 3 people over here. It's always possible, but I would just say that's not very likely. If you take this route and you don't see the home guy from here, you do kind of need to worry about the middle now. So depending on how quick you are, or if you lost information. So if I made this move, I would probably just come here for a second and just check. I would just dump paint here for even just 5 balls, 3 to 5 balls, in this gap to prevent anybody from responding to that move. Because a lot of times as a home guy, when you see people make those types of big bites in any side of the field or the other. So for example, let's say I'm looking at this Dorito side and I saw somebody break out and they made it into this Dorito gap right here. They survived it. A lot of times people will take this bite. They'll come here and then they'll keep looking Dorito way and they'll come here. But if from this position, as soon as you go past this tower, you're super committed. And if you, as the smart front player, knew that was going to happen, then all of a sudden, boom, you're already there to respond to that read and react move. So now, boom, you kill him, right? So it might be worth it to do that. It just kind of depends because you're going to gain a lot of ground if as soon as you make this move, you instantly win what's in front of you. You're going to win a lot of games if you dominate these two people. So otherwise, you don't have any free kills on the inside of the field and in any bunker we've seen so far, right? Nothing free. So if we then take this bite, I don't think you need to worry about any sort of snake nonsense. I don't think so. I think in low body situations, it's always possible. You know, if you're Tiger 2 and some kind of random spread, you know, you killed the back center maybe and some guy on the snake side or some guy on the Dorito side, you might find that there's like a crossfield hold that a team will set up. But I'm imagining this is the point started. We're like 25, 30 seconds into the point now. Maybe 45 seconds into the point. I really don't see us running into any issues with any sort of crossfield shots here. It's possible, but you can usually see if that paint's coming and then just dodge it based on that. Otherwise, if paint's not on its way already, you're free to come here. And now you are rewarded with your first kills. So I would say that the God is almost a guaranteed kill if they're not going to react to you in your positioning. So for you God guys on the snake side, you need to play very tight every single time you get to your bunker. Because the Dorito 3 guy is going to ruin your day every single time if you don't. So this is a definitely strong kill. I would say the snake corner is a possibility, but they are probably going to survive you. So I don't even think I would bother with that. I would just look at the God. The juice box was a kill on the move. So when you make this move, if you can help it, I would make this move with your gun up and I would actually practice this shot. So I know some of you guys are like, yeah, that's not a thing. It is absolutely a thing. If you, as you're making this move from the Dorito 2 to the Dorito 3, practice shooting a target in this position, you might get kills there if it's in the early game, okay? Or maybe even like mid game, right? So beat these two guys, wrap shoot the home. As soon as you get those people to flinch, instantly, boom, 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 just start dumping paint right here as you move, okay? You might get a kill there. You might kill the number 2 that way. And then as soon as you get here, now you're killing the God, very likely. So that's your first probably free kill. As soon as that happens, I would instantly get into the 50. By the way, don't, like with bricks especially, do not get to this 50 brick and come on the inside of the field. It is super tempting to do that, but everything that you can do on the inside of this brick was already done when you looked on the inside of this Dorito. So as soon as you get to this 50, the way you punish people is you play on the outside of it. So don't go to the 50 and look on the inside. That's how you'll die really, like very often and for stupid reasons. So getting here now, I would say the middle guy is almost a guaranteed free kill. And you can blind out whatever's going on in front of you, right? So we're making the assumption, and any time I make this kind of like, as I'm going to each Dorito bunker, we're making the assumption that we've been able to hold them in these kind of primary bunkers, right? If they're in this bunker or this bunker, this push has been slowed down a lot, right? If they're in one of these two bunkers and one of these two bunkers, the push that I'm illustrating is way slower. But it's still kind of the same thing. You just have a different person you got to check off, right? Come on. How do I get these bots, dude? Report. There we go. How do I ban? This, I hate that there's just like not an instantaneous like ban button. It's so dumb. All right. Sorry about that. I found that comment helpful. All right. Hey, Christian. Thanks, buddy. I appreciate it. Carlton. What's up, buddy? How are you? I'm excited for Cut Man. All right, so if you get up to this 50 and there's somebody ahead of you, obviously you don't have the freedom to wrap, but we're always operating off the assumption that if you are able to wrap, who should you be killing? Otherwise, this is your roadblock, right? Whatever's in front of you is always going to be your roadblock. But if there isn't anybody that's past that, if there's nobody in Iowa, let's say, right, revisiting the zones here, if you hear Iowa as, or whatever you guys, Dragon, if you want to call it that, if you hear Dragon, assuming this is what you're going to draw the zone as, then that means that when you get to this 50, you are free to wrap, right? Because who's going to kill you? Nobody can see you when you do this. Nobody can see you as you bully the home. Nobody can see you as you bully the juice box or the corner guy. At least in the Doritos. Assuming that you have some number 2 or some middle guy behind you holding them, right? Obviously, you need to protect yourself, but if they are contained, this is where you'll get your kills. So the freest kill is here for sure. I would say that kill's pretty free. You'll probably kill the corner guy as well. And then getting up into their Doritos now, you still blinding out the guys in front of you. Now you have the God for sure. You'll probably get some sort of kills here if they're in that Snake 3. Just don't miss your shot, right? That's a shot worth practicing. And then you just have a snapshot to like kill this guy. So what does that mean? That means that if you as the number 2 on the Dorito side do not contain the number 1 on their side to the Dorito. So for example, what did we say? What am I? This is Dorito. Okay, that's Dorito 2, we'll call it. Why am I having a brain fart? Okay, Dorito 2. Sorry, I'm just trying to make... Oh, yeah. Okay, perfect. So, and in even some cases, you might not even stop. If, for example... Ooh, that's a red flag you want to worry about. So if you have your home guy looking snake way and you pull up short here and they made it to the Dorito 1, you have a big issue because you don't have anybody who can contain this Dorito 1 guy. Right? We established that the only person that's going to stop you from making this bump from Dorito 1 to Dorito 3 is somebody in the middle. It means that you need to have you need to figure out what that safety net looks like. Okay? It either needs to be that I'm not suggesting it, I'm just saying it might mean that you need to double up the home for a second, or you need to have your home guy stay dedicated on the Dorito. Because look, if I'm in this Aztec, and I either lose the containment that I have on the guy that's in the Dorito 2, or they are in the Dorito 1 and my home guy's looking snake, this guy can get all the way to the 50 and in this bunker, and I don't see it at all. They can be in my Dorito 3 and I wouldn't even know it. And all of a sudden my snake side's dead. So that means that we need to protect ourselves with some kind of middle push. Or we need to see what kind of crossfield shots exist for either side. So let's look at that in a second. We need to wrap the stream up here in just a minute. My wife's going to be home from the store here, but I think this has been good. So, all right. If they make it there, this is your safety net, it looks like. This actually is not even a bad bunker to get to right away. So, you know how we said that you could just play this spot off the break? So if you dump paint here or here, and then instantly, come low here, you now protect yourself. And the advantage of doing this is if for whatever reason you're having big survivability issues, you now are taking a super conservative breakout on the Dorito side, which we saw happening a lot at Windy City, right? You just had to earn the breaks. You had to earn the pushes. So this positioning will protect you. And in fact, it's really just this bunker that's going to protect you from that Dorito move, right? All right, so that's a super strong bunker to hold that gap. The issue with this bunker that I have, at least, is that if you play this off the break right away, you do not influence any part of what's happening on this part of the Dorito side, right? Which just essentially concedes whatever's going on. So let's imagine that, for example, we had our buddy who was here, and then we were here as the number 2, and they were here and here. Well, now all I'm really doing is I am making sure that they can't make this move or this move, but I'm not stopping anything from them doing this or this, right? I can't see any of that. And instead, I'm allowing them to 2v1 bully my guy and I'm not really providing any value. So it might be that in a breakout, what we do, there's so many options I can tell already, but it might be that instead what we do is we play this dead zone right here for a second, let our front guy dive in, and then we come here, and depending on where they went, we either immediately take this bite here to stop the threat, to hold the, you know, play safety, or we then play here because they also went here and here, right? We can match them just fine. But as soon as they make this bump, we have to make this bump. That needs to be the response. It's also possible that you go to the corner, I guess I should say. It is possible that you go to the corner instead. But so depending on if you wanted to have some kind of, I don't think you should have a call for this, but it's also possible that instead you have, you know, your number 1 here, you come out to the corner, and then your number 3 comes out behind you and goes like this, or excuse me, just goes like this. And so then you come here. That's also a possibility. Which would provide a lot of the same safety, but now you've got a really strong 3-man operation going on the Dorito side to make a pretty good push. And the advantage to doing this is that you apply a lot of inside pressure if they played the backline on the homes. Because so, for example, if I have my number 3 here, I've got safety on the Doritos, and my number 1's still trying to work his way up. But now I can protect my front player from whatever might happen up the middle of the field. Right? I can see all of this, and I can just dump a lot of pressure on the number 2 as well from here. Whereas if I just go here, I lose what's going on to the number 2, right? And in worst case scenario, if I think to myself, hey, as a number 2, my biggest job is to stop the 1 from moving from here to here or here to here. Well, now this guy is free to do whatever, right? For the most, to some extent, right? He can either come here and go up the middle and play surprise, or he can even come here. And I wouldn't have any idea unless periodically I checked up the middle, right? Or I could match him. That's also a possibility. I could come here and here and match. But just be aware that's a possibility. So let's keep going then. If I go up to this tower here, who's going to kill me on the snake side? The snake 2 is going to threaten my livelihood, but if I play tight, I think I'm okay. And if I go low, I mean, if the snake backs up, he can kill me in this gap, but you might be okay. This is a situation in where this bunker is good if you surprise them. So if, for example, we played that same scenario out where I was here and then I immediately took the bite here to stop the move. Well, depending on if the point's kind of running long or dry, I could actually even make the second move and surprise them. The only problem is that this isn't going to be a surprise because I was holding this position essentially the same angle, but further back. So if you make it quick, if you were here and then you go like this right away, you might surprise that snake 1 guy or that Dorito 1 guy. You might. Because he might think if you make it quick enough, he might think you're still back here. So that's an option. Otherwise, if you tiger somebody out of the Doritos, like if you tiger their front Dorito player, this isn't a bad response bunker to go to and then just lock off the Dorito side. That's not a terrible move either, because now your Dorito guy's free to make a ton of moves and just wrap, right? We've already established that as long as you can contain them in the Nevada zone, you can keep them out of Iowa, which is anything over here. Your front Dorito guy can just blind out all of this. He's not going to be seen in any of this. So he just goes here, you go here, you contain, make sure they can't break out and kill the guy, and you will win probably in that positioning, as long as the snake guy doesn't ruin your day. And in this case, you can actually probably play behind your gun such that you're actually playing kind of this side of the bunker. And then if you're getting any kind of heat, you can go low. But a lot of times people will just go like they'll snap into the bunker and get it to bend rather than actually committing like to be fully behind the bunker. That happens a lot as well. You obviously have like a natural move up the middle as well if you want to get even more crazy. So you could come here and get a different angle of surprise on that Dorito 1 guy to bait him. If you find that the teams that you're playing against take a lot of backline positioning like this, it might be worth it to make this move pretty quickly. If your middle guy's not doing that, because you can kind of ignore, depending on who is a threat or who's looking to move, you can really like, you can essentially isolate that number 2 on the Dorito side and just stare at this dude and wait till he makes the bite. Or if that guy's not rapping on you at all and you just want to like surprise the number 2, you can do that as well. You can just, and maybe he's the one that tries to filter this way and you would catch him right here doing it. So that's, if they play back, I would say that's a pretty solid move. So if you find that, like, let's say you played this bunker and you heard on the breakout, you heard Delta. Dude, come on. Report. I need mods, man. I need mods on this stream. Mini W equals pocket play. Yes, absolutely. So, but if you play this position and you hear them go to the Delta and you've kind of seen their breakouts and you're like, I know they kind of sit in that backline for a minute. Honestly, I would probably just do this right away. You might even be able to do this. But if you see that, you might just consider going here all the way right off the break and then make that play. Or if you want to be a little safer, you could just come here and make this play. The challenge is this is maybe not even safer because you're going to run into, if the home guy's looking your way, you're going to run into their line of sight and kind of expose that move. So it might be just more worth it to punch up the middle. Okay. I don't really consider this bunker as anything like seriously played. Not that it won't be, but it's just like if you're playing here, you're probably looking to make a move to like blow up in the point. So there's not really any value like assessing that bunker in particular. If we look at the Dorito side wedge and the can are really the last things we need to look at. So we already established, I really think that people are going to come here and they're going to make this route. They're going to take this route all day. I think this is super, super safe. It provides a ton of pressure on the snake because this is a massive gap. And as long as you can hit a target as you're running forward, you're fine. So how do we threaten this? There's a couple options. We could come out to this same gap right here and actually shoot over the top and try to kill anybody, dropping that paint down on them as they're running forward. We could also come out as we run out to the corner, depending on which route they take, which in this case will be the inside route. We could shoot them as they come here, right? We could shoot that crossfield shot over here and maybe nick them somewhere as they make their route there. So if you find that they are... Uh-oh. Am I frozen? Okay. Guns up seemed to be frozen for a second. I think it actually might be. Okay, no, we're good. If you find that they're getting to that mini W for free, or excuse me, that wedge for free a lot, they're just taking this route, that's the first thing I would try to shoot, or try to do, is I would have your number 2 shoot that, and I would have this guy shoot that as well, over the top. Because you can still have your home guy shoot at the snake as you do that, to kind of shore up or hedge your bets. Otherwise, if we get there, you obviously have this super low wrap if they don't even make it out. This mid is strong and diverse. Up the middle is a better move, I believe. I think I agree with you as well. What is you go to the snake juice box and shoot standing high and wrap the out quick for the run up? What if? Yeah, so exactly, right? Like if you come here, you could if you're tall, you can come up over the top and probably shore up your survivability and have even a better angle on the guy. I think it's probably sufficient to do it in the middle, but I guess if they're shooting this crossfield shot, not really. But otherwise, if you come here and wrap, you're even safer, right? You're even safer. The challenge is going to be that I don't know if that's a better angle or not to shoot them, right? But let's imagine you're in this position. Obviously, really strong hold on the snake insert. Even in the corner, you have a really strong hold on the snake corner trying to make that route. So that's why I feel like this bunker is going to be played a lot. You obviously, as soon as they are in the snake, this bunker is not that... I personally, I know we already looked at it from the opposite angle, that like the snake guy's in a bad spot, and he is, definitely. But like if I was in this wedge and I had to fight the snake guy from this angle, I would feel very uncomfortable doing that. Only because this guy's probably not going to snap me out, but this puts me in a really submissive position because this guy does not have to challenge me, but the longer the game goes on, the more likely it is for him to get to here and here. And I'm just becoming more and more exposed to him. So, you know, we already established that like this isn't a bad place to be, but it might be better for us to move up the middle because now I'm in a standing position and in a much better spot to challenge this guy. I think this is a much better angle for us, especially because we're on our feet now. And we already established that like the biggest threat we have is this little angle right here. Or I think it's like that, right? This angle right here is the biggest threat we got to worry about as we try to make that move. So if you, for some reason, didn't kill them and they got into the snake, I would probably check off what's ever in front of you, which in this case would be the mini W and then, or the mini wedge, and then come here right away and just see if you can bait that. Otherwise, the alternative is going to be if you go, I don't think you go to that juice box. You've got the guy in front of you to worry about. I don't think I would come here to do that. I think you use this box to this juice box to leapfrog. And I don't even think you need to do that. I think if you have a Tiger 2 on the snake side, I think you can just easily stand up here. Stand up from this position, shoot at this guy, and then let your snake guy do work. I don't think you need to go to that juice box. But if you go here, obviously you can blind out the number 2, which is there's some value in that. So for example, let's say you made that move, okay? You were, let's illustrate this for a second. So you were here, and for whatever reason, they were able to get into the snake, and now you don't know where they're at. But you know that they're not in this W, or excuse me, I keep calling it a W. They're not in this wedge, they're here. Well, now you can actually do a lot of cheekiness here where you can come here, blind out the number 2, and surprise the 3, either with a hopper shot, some kind of face shot, whatever. And if you tiger that guy, now you have a lot of room to play right here. You have a ton of room. As long as you do it quickly and the snake guy doesn't like obviously check you off and kill you. But you could actually run through and kill whatever's on the Dorito side, or possibly this dude. I mean, the snake again is going to be your biggest issue here, because it's not very likely that these guys are going to look cross like this. The only guy that we established that's going to do that is probably the Dorito guy. So there's opportunity there. Even if he is here, this obviously is going to be, I think, the play. These two guys are going to try to make this on each other all the time. And I think the people that will need to protect for that is the snake guys. Probably it's probably the easiest thing to do is for their snake guys to protect their middle dudes by doing this, right? This is the angle. So we look here, and then let's see, what's some other moves. If we get to this 50, let's say we do Tiger. Let's see. Well, I was thinking of like, what are some other run-throughs, but I don't know if it matters. I just know that this move is going to be really strong. The move from the 50 to the other person's wedge is going to be pretty strong, and I think the Dorito side's going to take most of the pressure when that move is made. So just be careful as a Dorito player. Let's see. Especially, actually, now that I think of it, if you tiger the snake guy... So if you are here, now this is kind of making sense, okay? If you're here and you tiger their snake guy and they have a guy here and here, I think that's your move. If in the breakout that happens, I think you immediately come here and here. And I think the reason is because you have so much to work with at that point. You can instantly make that move and chop and kill one person almost guaranteed on the Dorito side. And as soon as you do that, you can then either low look for this guy to try to make the move, or just stand up tall, right? Because he's not going to be expecting this. Or you can, you can do even the further wrap where you look for this guy. You look for him and kill him. But I just think that if you tiger their snake guy and you were here as the number 2, I think this is your move. Always. I think that's always your move. Which means that you Dorito guys need to protect. You need to protect against that. So if you find that it's common at the tournament or at practice that people are making this move, you Dorito guys you're the ones that need to stop that. Okay, last bunker I didn't look at was this can. I'm just curious to see if this can's even worth going to. What does the can do better than other bunkers? It provides a little bit more safety, especially from being ran down. It especially provides safety from at least trade potential from that wedge to wedge move. You obviously have gaps you can hold here. I don't love cans in the center of the field because you usually get pinched out on one side or the other. It happens almost every time. And in this case, if they get to that Dorito 1, you're instantly put behind your gun. right? If I'm looking at this, if I'm looking at the Dorito side and they actually somehow manage to get into this Dorito, I now have to live behind my gun if I'm going to look Dorito way. Otherwise, I have to just ignore Dorito side and look snake side. But now I have nowhere to go. I can't safely get out of this bunker. So I don't know. This looks to be, anytime there's like a bunker like this, I always just think of it as a stopgap if for whatever reason you needed it. But I don't imagine people are going to come here and actually play this. I could see situations in which people come here and either they are worried about getting ran down, so they actually backtrack for a second. But I would imagine that if you backtrack, you're just going to go to this wedge. You're going to come here and look for it. I don't think you come all the way back here. So anyway, all right, let's wrap up by saying, so the bunker that you need to worry about, the launch bunker on the Dorito side is this one. That Dorito one is a scary launch bunker, which almost forces you to play this bunker here. Because if you don't, or at least you need to respond to somebody making it into the Dorito one by going to that mini W. I'm not sure why this person isn't banned. I don't know why I can't just like straight up ban people. Because I keep reporting it, but it seems like they... it's just weird that I can't just like straight up ban people. A la Laval the Wall. That made his trade out city, Stanzik. Yeah, absolutely. I'm loving this, bro. You're welcome. People are going to sleep on it, and if you kill the wedge, you dive and crawl the whole thing. Absolutely. I think the snake is a hidden gem. I think the snake is really strong because the only thing that stops you is this guy. Assuming assuming that you can put in the guy in front of you, I think the wedge is the only guy that you need to worry about. And it's really on a pack hit that the guy's going to kill you, right? So, but what I was going to say is you need to be very careful about this move, the launch from here to here. That's a really dangerous move you need to protect against, which means if they make it to the Dorito one, you have to be here. Or obviously in the center 50, but I'm just thinking of things that are reasonable to do. So yeah, if you send a guy up the middle off the break and he's looking Dorito way, you don't need to. This doesn't need to be your move because you can just keep playing as normal. But if you send a guy up the 50 all the time, just know that you guys are probably going to trade out with each other a lot, and I'm not sure that's worth it, especially if you're going to look Dorito side, because I think people are going to trade out going on the snake side. So you might just die getting shot in the back without actually trading. What was the other thing I was going to say? So you obviously, as is typical, you're most rewarded by making it to the 50 on the Dorito side, but you apply immense amounts of pressure by being in this Dorito 2. Okay. So the two plays are, if you get to the Dorito 1 and they didn't stop you, or they're not in the correct positioning, you can launch to the 50. Otherwise, if you get to this Dorito 2, you now apply an insane amount of pressure on two bunkers, for very low risk, right? And now as soon as that happens, you're also free to take off. So the Dorito side is like super scary in my opinion. We established that this gap, you have a ton of opportunity as the number 2 to do a lot here, as well as this gap right here. You have a lot of opportunity as the number 2 on the snake side, as is typical, right? These gaps, there's a lot of room for play, which also means that from the home or as the number 2s, it's probably a good idea for the number 2 on the Dorito side to shoot at the snake and vice versa, at least as they're running out, right? Depending on what they're doing, there's going to be a lot of stuff you need to shoot at blindly in this zone. The snake corner appears to be a much better bunker to leapfrog into the snake than it does to actually protect the snake, with the exception that if you die trying to go to the snake off the break and then you come to the corner, it is a true tape, which does mean that you can hold the tape, and as long as you're laying down, and it's going to be hard to dig you out of that. Even if they get to the 50 on the Dorito side, it's going to be very hard to kill you because you're essentially going to be on the snake side tape. And so even a pack hit's not going to be very, very easy. So that's an opportunity. Otherwise, I think the reason that you go to the snake corner is to kind of change up the route you go into the snake. And I wouldn't even say that if you want to like slow play, if you want to like hold the line on the snake side but push the Doritos, I don't even know if I would say that sending your guy to the corner and here is the better option. I just feel like you really should just be sending a guy here most of the time and trying to get your guy into the god and then up into the snake. That's probably I think it's going to be pretty standard. I think the way that you deviate, or the reason you deviate, is just entirely based on what your opponents are doing, your survivability, so on and so forth. The snake 3 is the threat bunker on the snake side. The reason it is because it forces these 3 people. It changes what they have to do to live. So as soon as they get to the snake 3, these 3 bunkers now have to play not only very tight, but they have to be very concerned about breaking out from those backline positionings just for free without checking things off. So, and it also means that if you lose, if for whatever reason you lose your snake guy, so if you're matched up in all ways, it's a 5v5, but they have positioning in the snake 3 and you're only in the snake 1, but you die. Well, now this guy reigns terror on your team because of this. And in fact, he doesn't even have to do that. He can, but he can just essentially launch all the way up. So the snake 3, relatively safe bunker to get to, with the exception of you have one puzzle to solve. The puzzle to be solved is that you need to... This guy is going to be hard to dig out, given just the nature of being in the snake, trying to kill a guy that's in the 40-ish bunker that's very close. So this is the first puzzle to break. Which means that when that happens, usually what happens is, like, we don't care what's going on the Dorito side, but if we have this puzzle, for example, let's say, if this is the scenario, we are this side of the field. This is a situation in which almost every single time it's this number 2's job to go and stab this guy, even if he trades out, because now as soon as he trades out, he can, assuming that you have some kind of relative positioning, as long as the number 3 comes out to protect the snake 1, you now have massive superior positioning, and this number 1 on the snake side can just kill everybody on the Dorito side, even just from that one move, right? They don't even have to make that move. I guess there's no reason for them to stop here, right? But you get what I mean, right? Let's take this example. This will be even easier, okay? This is even easier. If this is the configuration, we are on this side of the field, it's almost always going to be the case that this guy goes and stabs him and to trade him out. And as long as this number 3 or somebody contains this guy from getting into the snake, this dude is, even just being in the snake 3, is going to kill almost everybody. Okay? So that's why I think these moves are going to be trade out city. So whoever has superior positioning in the snake, their number 2 should look to kill the number 2 on this wedge if they're in there. If they're not, for example, if this guy's here and the number 2 is here and the number 1 is here and you are here, dude, you are chilling. You don't have to do anything. You can just relax, right? You don't even have to challenge the juice box guy, except to actually get him to flinch and then go to their Viper. As soon as you do that, this guy's dead. This guy's dead. This guy's dead. This guy's dead. So that's why this is like the release bunker. That snake 3 is like the massive... If they cross that threshold, you're going to be bleeding pretty bad. Corey haul the wall. Corey pukes too much. I think this is a snake is corner in, personally. I'm not sure I understand. Corner to snake is the way to go. I think you are right. Trade out in that wedge and crawl the whole snake. Let the home watch the run out. Bro, you are saying it as I type it, baller. Great minds think alike, dude. All right. Any questions? Any comments, concerns, whatever? You guys have anything you want me to look at really quick, or last final thoughts before we end this? As a reminder, if you guys are watching this and you're thinking, man, this is cool, but like nobody's played the field yet, things will probably change. You're absolutely right. I usually like to receive feedback from the community. I do take it with a grain of salt because depending on the division you play, your experience and mileage is going to vary. So I try to assess the field, making a lot of assumptions that the opponents we're playing against are making the most correct decisions in any given moment. And so it's really up to us to like force our opponents to make bad plays, or rather prevent them from making good plays. So but with all that said, if you guys practice this layout, you're not sure you're kind of getting it, and you are going to World Cup, absolutely reach out to me for coaching. I usually ask for a minimum of 2 hours. They don't have to be consecutive, but the first hour we usually review how practice went, go over some things that you guys learned from the layout, and then kind of reassess it and make more specific diagnoses given your division. And then the second we will cover breakouts. I will give you specific breakouts. But if you don't want to pay for private coaching, which is totally understandable, if you become a member of the YouTube channel, you'll have access to the breakouts when I make them, usually after the first weekend. I like to have breakouts created before the second weekend's practice so that you can actually take it and practice before you go to the tournament and decide for yourself if they work or not. But again, if you're a member of the YouTube channel, $3 a month, I think is what it is. At the low end, you will get access to those on my Discord server. So consider doing that. If you guys haven't subscribed to the channel already, please do that. It helps me out a great deal. I'm sorry I've been slacking recently in terms of stream. Life has been busy, crazy, like everybody's has. So in fact, I'm supposed to have plumbers here today that was going to make this stream kind of impossible, but they are not here. So thank you guys so much for watching. Any tips for 3-man? I get asked this question all the time. Go watch my 3-man masterclass video. 3-man is a very straightforward, very straightforward thing. All you do is push outside of the field and up the center, and all 3 guns need to be up. And it's essentially the number 3 or the home guy gets to decide which side of the field you want to make a 2v1. So if this is the number 3, excuse me, I'll just make it more simple. So here's the general pushes that you're going to be making. I've already written this on my Discord server, but the number 1 on the snake side should never dive into the snake. You should always have your gun up. And essentially the home guy is deciding which side of the field he wants to support, effectively making it a 2 versus 1. And you're going to just alternate that every single time. You're just going to go here, shoot support, here, shoot support, here, shoot support, here, shoot support, and eventually work your way up to the 50 and kill people. There's no reason to do 3v3 strategy. It's all straightforward. It happens essentially the same every field, and you can find that information on my YouTube video. Okay, that's it. I think that's everything. Thank you guys so much for watching. I should be on tomorrow. I think we're actually going to do... I think the groups are out, but we're going to do predictions for NXL World Cup tomorrow. So if you guys are curious about that, be sure to tune in relatively the same amount of time, and we'll talk about that. We'll just kind of get hyped for World Cup and kind of chat and hang out. So thank you guys so much, and I will see you hopefully tomorrow. Peace.